Hey gang, Jane here, and I'm back today with another super simple, easy crochet granny square tutorial. This one is a perfect one for beginners. I call this one Dot the Square, or Dot for short, because she's small and to the point. 3 rounds total to this square. If you're looking for a simple square to start your crochet journey with, this one is the perfect one to learn on. I walk you through this square step by step, nice and slow, covering lots of basic stitches, how I change colors, and once we've completed the square, I'll show you how to darn in your ends and give you a few inspirational ideas on projects you can make with them. This one's also a great one for scrap busting, less than 4 grams of yarn per square. It's 3 inches by 3 inches finished and perfect to join using my join as you go method. You can find more information including yarn suggestions, project pics, and the free pattern for Dot the Square over on my blog. I'll leave the link in the description below. So gather your supplies and your favorite colors and join me in making Dot the Square. I'm only going to be using 2 colors of yarn in this tutorial today, and there are only 3 rounds to the square, so you won't need much yarn at all. I'm just using some scrap balls I have here of some off-white and some blue. I'll be using my 5mm crochet hook, and you're also going to need a pair of scissors and a darning needle with a large eye to work in your ends. So I want to take my blue yarn and I want to put a slip knot on my hook because I'm starting with a foundation chain this time. I'll be doing a foundation ring with chains. So to get the slip knot onto my hook, it's very similar to how I do the magic ring. I take the yarn, laying it across my palm with the cut end facing me, holding in place with my thumb, wrap around the first 2 fingers, bring it back underneath, crossing it over, holding it in place with my thumb, and back over 3 fingers. Now I place my hook under the first loop and over the second, pull it through, twisting it onto the hook. I slip my fingers out but don't let go of the ends, and I pull the ends so that I get a knot. The part that makes it a slip knot is when I pull the ends away from each other, it slips right up to the hook. Now I have a slip knot on my hook and I'm ready to go. So hold that cut end away from you. You don't want to be using that. You want the working yarn. That's the one that's attached to the ball. So I hold my yarn by wrapping it around my baby finger once and then back over the top of my hand. That's just how I keep my tension. Everybody does it different, but I do get asked on that, so that's how I do that. We're now ready to start our chain foundation. So we want to do 4 chains, and then we're going to join them into a ring. Take your yarn and holding with your thumb and your finger, hold that knot in place, but your hook can still move. Insert the hook underneath the yarn, which is called a yarn over, or it can also be referred to as a yarn around. You'll hear me use both of these terms. And then you're going to pull it through that loop, and that's your first chain. Moving my finger and my thumb up, I want to do that again. Yarn over, so I kind of rotate the hook down and my hand over, and then pull it through this. So I pull down on my thumb and finger to create space in there, pull it through, and that's chain number 2. We want to do 2 more of those. So moving my thumb and finger up towards the hook, yarn over the hook again. So rotating the hook down and my hand over top. The yarn goes over top of the hook and it hooks, and pulling down on this knot here so that I create space in here because it has to move, I pull the yarn through. That's my 3rd chain. You don't want these to be too tight. 1 more, yarn over, pull through, and that's chain 4. Now I have these chain 4, I want to create a ring with them. So the way you want to do this is take this hook and put it into that top loop of the first chain. So let's go back and do that under the top loop. So it's the only one over the hook. Again, yarn over, so I rotate my hook under and my yarn over. Pull it through that loop. And now you want to pull it through this loop as well. So I change and using my thumb and my finger, pull down on this one to continue through. And that's a slip stitch in the first chain. And there we have a 4-chain foundation ring that we will be working into the center of for our first round. Round number 1 is going to be all double crochet. So the way that I start this one is with the standard chain 3. The chain 3 counts as a double crochet. There are many other ways to start using standing double crochets or stacked double crochets, but I'm going to start with the simplest method, which is a chain 3. We have 1 loop on the hook and we want to make sure our hook moves back and forth. I have my thumb and my finger placed at the base to hold everything in place, and my yarn is wrapped around my hand. Insert the hook under and bring the yarn over the hook. So that's your yarn over, and pull it through the loop on the hook. That's 1 chain. I need 2 more. So I move my thumb and my finger up, yarn over, and pull through the loop on the hook. That's 2 chains, 1 more, yarn over, and pull through the loop on the hook. That's 3 chains, and it counts as our first double crochet. So now we need 11 more double crochets. We want 12 total, and this counts as our first one. We're going to work into this little hole right here. So make sure you know where that is before we start into the double crochet. You can see the space that you're going to work into right here. The first double crochet, we wrap the yarn around the hook first, and then we insert it into that center. And I'm holding on to my cut yarn to keep it out of the way. So now you have a wrap around the hook as well as the loop that was already on the hook, and it's inserted into the center of your ring. Yarn over, hook it, bring it through the center of the ring, and you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, bring it through the first 2, yarn over, and bring it through the last 2. So that's a full double crochet, and we now have considered 2 double crochets in our ring. We need 12 total. Let's do another one. I hold this cut yarn right with the ring, so as I work into the ring, I'm actually working over the cut yarn as well. Our next double crochet, remember your hook, you want it to be movable, but don't want this stitch too loose. So I hold the ring in place and I go yarn around my hook, and then I insert it into that space. The space becomes more visible the more you work into it. So here's our setup, a loop on the hook from before, the yarn over, and you're inserted into the center ring. Yarn over your hook, hook on it, and pull through. And I'm using this thumb and finger to help me pull through. And bring it up. I now have the loop, the yarn over, and the second yarn over. Yarn over again, and pull through the first 2 strands on the hook. Using this thumb and finger to pull down, and I actually kind of push up with this thumb. And I did 2. So I have 2 left, yarn over again, and pull through the 2 that are left on the hook. So there we have 3 double crochet. We're looking for 12. Let's keep going. Yarn around your hook, insert into the center, yarn around your hook again, and pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn around your hook, pull through the first 2, 2 left on the hook, yarn around, and pull through the second 2. Now I have 4 double crochet. They'll feel a little lopsided at the moment because you're working your way around, but once you get all 12 of them in this ring, they'll fit just perfect. Let's keep moving. Yarn around your hook, never let go of this piece with your thumb and your finger, at least while you're working on it. Insert into the center ring, yarn around, and pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn around, pull through the first 2, yarn around, pull through the last 2. Now you get the feel for it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can count them by looking at these V-stitch tops on them. And there's 5 of them, although this chain 3 actually doesn't necessarily have that V-stitch top. It does have the final chain. Or you can count them by their posts. And you can see there's 5 of them there. Make sure you have some slack on your yarn so that the yarn doesn't create an extra tension. And you can see here that I am working over top of the cut end as I work my way around. It just gives it a little more security. I'm still going to darn it in at the end. Yarn around the hook, holding on to the center of our ring and the hook in the other hand. Insert into this space in the center that we've been working into. Yarn around the hook. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn around or yarn over, it's the same thing. Pull through the first 2. Yarn over and pull through the last 2. Again, yarn over the hook, holding onto the center and the hook, insert into that ring, guiding it with my fingers, yarn around the hook and pull it up. So I'm kind of like pivoting my work so I can see what I'm doing. Yarn around the hook, pulling down with this hand and up with this hand to create this space. Pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2. Let's keep moving. I'm just going to go slowly, but I'll stay quiet and you can watch what I'm doing. Now let's take a look and see how many we've done. By counting the posts, I can see I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I have 1 more to do. Let's do that final one. And you may have to kind of push them around the ring a little bit just to give yourself space to work that last one. And that makes 12. Now we're going to continue with this color. So I'm going to slip stitch to join our round. So what I want to do here is slip stitch in the 3rd chain of this beginning chain 3, and that represents the top of the double crochet. Take your hook, insert it into that 3rd chain right into the middle of it, wrap your yarn around, pull it through, and now pull it through this loop that's also on the hook. That's a slip stitch to join your round. So those stitches will even out as you work, and then you're going to darn this in at the end. Moving on to round number 2, we're going to change to the half double crochet stitch. To begin, our yarn is still here attached. We didn't cut it because we're still using this color. We want to start with a chain 2 to begin our round. So we take our project and we hold on to it again the same way that we have been, holding onto the hook. We do yarn over the hook and pull it through the loop. That's our chain stitch. And we need 1 more of those. Yarn over, pull through. That's chain 2. This round is going to have 2 half double crochets in each stitch all the way around so that it expands with the circle. This counts as our first half double crochet, so we want to work a second one into this same chain stitch that we joined into. We do that by wrapping the yarn around the hook, inserting it into that same chain stitch that we just joined our round in. So go ahead and poke that in there. yarn over, pull through a loop, and we have 3 loops on the hook, just like we did for the double crochet. But for the half double crochet, we don't pull through 2 and 2, we pull through all 3 at once. So to complete this half double crochet, yarn over the hook, holding it with this thumb and finger to create this space, and you can move the hook. You want to pull that yarn through all 3 of the strands on the hook. That creates a half double crochet, and now we have 2 in this same stitch. Moving forward, we want to work 2 into the next stitch. So make sure you're going to go under both loops of that stitch. We start by going yarn over the hook, and we're going to go under both loops of the stitch. You want both of those loops, the whole V part. Yarn over and pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, and to do a half double crochet, you're going to pull through all 3. So yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That's your first one. You're going to work a second one into that same stitch. So now you know where it is, it's easier to find. Yarn around the hook, insert into that same stitch, yarn around and pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Now you've worked 2 half double crochets into that same stitch. We're going to do this in every stitch all the way around. So let's work it together. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch under both of those loops. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Yarn over the hook, insert into the same stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. There again we have 2 stitches into 1. Moving on to the next stitch. We work a half double crochet, the same way we've been doing, and then a second half double crochet. There we have 2 into the next stitch. Again, 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. So yarn over, insert into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. Again, a second one into the same stitch and pull through all 3. So you can see here that we've worked 2 half double crochets into each of the stitches, and it's expanding our circle outwards. So I'm going to continue to work this, and you can watch me go, and I'll just stay quiet. Now let's count our stitches, because 2 stitches in every one of the stitches will give us 24 half double crochet, and I always like to count them just to make sure. So I'm going to do it by counting the posts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I have worked all the stitches I need to work. Another reason why you want to count them is because when you get back here, it can get a little confusing to know where the last stitch is. So this chain was worked into this stitch, but this stitch right here is not a stitch. It's just the join that created the chain. Sometimes to help with this, we can use stitch markers, but I always find if you count your stitches and you keep track of looking at it, you'll know you've reached the last stitch here. Now we are going to finish with this yarn. So I'm going to show you a color change here. And the way that I do it is I cut my yarns and join a new yarn after. You could join it in the last stitch, but I like to completely cut them, do an invisible join, and then start fresh on the new one. So I will show you how I do that. Take your scissors and cut your yarn. I go about 4 inches, maybe closer to 5, somewhere around there. It's better to have too much to work with than too little. Now pull the yarn all the way through by pulling up on the hook. And there you have it. Now you want your darning needle. You're going to put the yarn onto the darning needle. And this is how I do my invisible join. I want to duplicate the stitch using my darning needle so that you can't even see where it joins. The way that we do this is we go to this first chain, and I'm going to duplicate a stitch on top of this chain. So I want to go into the second stitch we made, which was the first real half double crochet. And I go under both loops of that stitch with my darning needle. I'm going to pull the yarn all the way through so that it's nice and snug there. Not too tight, but nice and snug. Then I'm going to take the darning needle and go back into the stitch that the yarn comes out of. So follow that back. That last stitch right there, that's where I'm going to put my darning needle. I'm going to put it in there and take it through the back. And I usually go down, see how there's 3 loops over top of that? I'll go down to the bottom of the stitch. And I'll pull that through. Now coming back to the top, see this nice loose stitch here? This is the one we're working on. Using my thumb and my finger to hold it in place, I'm going to snug that up by pulling on the end until it looks exactly like the other stitches. Not too tight and not too loose. Wiggle that a little bit and make sure that it's, again, not too tight, not too loose. See how it blends in with the other stitches? You can't really see where you started and where you stopped unless you know what that chain 2 looks like. It's sitting over top of the chain 2, so I did not create an extra stitch. Now I have had people ask me, how do you darn this one in so that this doesn't fall out? So I'm going to put it back on the needle and just show you quickly how I do that. Taking a look at the back, you can see I went down to the bottom of the stitch here. What I want to do is come back up through some of those strands and right through the center of the stitch I just created. And we're going to come up, and I'm not going to pull that very tightly. I don't want anything to be puckering or showing. And I came right up through the stitch I just created. And then to give it an extra secure, I'm going to go back down through the stitch behind it, again to the base. And that just kind of falls into the stitch and disappears. And that creates an extra loop that this won't fall out now. Now I can darn this piece in any way I want. I'm going to leave that for later, and we're going to go ahead and join the new color and create our last round. My second color is going to be this off-white color, and it's going to be the last round of this piece. I'm going to show you here on one we've already done. We've done the center part here, these 2 rounds, and now we're working the squaring, which is the last round. Holding my piece now, I'm going to join anywhere I want. So I will move to a different place to start because I don't want all my ends in the same place. I usually rotate it slightly so this end is a little more towards the direction that I'm moving. If I was working my ends in as I go, I would make sure that it's close enough that I can pick it up pretty shortly after I start. But I'm not working the ends in on this particular video. I have my hook ready to go and my yarn ready to go. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook first. So I'm holding the yarn at the back with my finger so it doesn't escape on me. And I have it wrapped around the hook, and as you can see, wrapped around my hand, and then that goes to the ball. I'm going to insert into the stitch, and to lock the piece in place, I'm going to make sure that the cut end is over top of the hook of the yarn that I'm joining. Yarn around the hook, pull it under the cut end through the stitch. I have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. That completes my single crochet, and that's how I'm starting this round. The next stitch I want to do is also going to be a single crochet, and I can continue to work over this strand. It's an automatic thing for me, but don't worry if you just want to leave that to the back and darn it in later, that's okay too. Insert your hook into the next stitch under both of those loops, both those blue loops of the stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both. That's another single crochet stitch. We want to do 1 more of those. Insert into the next stitch, yarn over the hook, pull up a loop, yarn around and pull through both. When I say yarn over, yarn around, it's really the same thing for me. Sometimes it feels like a yarn over and sometimes it feels like a yarn around. Now we have 3 single crochet done, and the next stitch is going to be a half double crochet. Yarn over, we've done this one before, insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. That's our half double crochet. So we're starting to build up the height of the stitches because we're squaring off our piece. Now we've reached the corner. In the corner, I want to work a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Let's take a look at our other piece. So we started around here, we did our 3 single crochet, our half double crochet, and we've reached the corner. In the corner, because we're turning our work and working down the next edge, we work a lot of stitches in there. So we do a double crochet, a chain 3, and a double crochet all into the same stitch. Let's do that now. A double crochet is yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over again, pull through a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Now we want to chain 3 to turn the corner. So all you want to do there is pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull it through, and yarn over, pull it through 3 times. Now we want to do another double crochet in the same stitch. Yarn over the hook to begin with, insert into the same stitch again, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we've got the 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Now we've turned our corner, and we're going to work down our next stitch. Next stitch will be a half double crochet, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. The stitches are now working down in height, so the next 3 are just going to be single crochets. So we insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both. That's a single crochet. You want to do 2 more of those. Next stitch, go right ahead in, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then we complete the single crochet. And 1 more single crochet, into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Those are our 3 single crochets. Now we want to do a half double crochet. Yarn around the hook, insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And we're back to our next corner. The next corner is the same as the last. Double crochet, chain 3, double crochet into this stitch. Let's work that. Yarn over and insert into that stitch and complete your double crochet. 2 and 2. Oops. Chain 3. So you're just pulling the yarn through like a loop. And that's 3 chains. And 1 more double crochet into this same stitch. Yarn over, into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and complete your double crochet. We've now turned our second corner. So we started here, worked across, turned our corner, worked up the next edge, and we've turned our corner again. We're going to continue to do that, so I'll walk you through it all the way around. Next stitch will be a half double crochet. And now we're into our single crochets. We want 3 of them. So next one, single crochet, another one, and then this third one. Each gets their own stitch. Working our way across the edge again, and the heights of the stitches are on the low one right now. Now we go back to a half double crochet. And we've reached our next corner. Corner is double crochet, chain 3, double crochet. Let's work that into this next stitch. Chain 3 and a double crochet. Now we have 3 of our corners finished, and we're working across the next edge. Half double crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next one, single crochet in the next stitch, and 1 more single crochet in the next stitch. Half double crochet in the next one. And we're back to our last corner. We want to work double crochet, chain 3, and a double crochet into that same stitch. I have 1 stitch left here, and that's going to be the half double crochet, because if you remember, we started with these 3 single crochets. So this stitch right here is a half double crochet, and we've completed the entire round number 3. Now again, to finish off this round, you can either slip stitch in this first stitch, but I like to do invisible joins. So let's do another one of those invisible joins. Take your scissors with your hook still on. You're going to cut your yarn about 4 inches. And now we're going to pull it through by pulling our hook. Get your darning needle and put the yarn onto the darning needle. If you recall, on the last time we did this, it was over top of a chain 2 stitch. Now we're going to do it over top of our first single crochet. So you're actually mimicking the stitch exactly like the first single crochet. So we want to take our needle, and I'm going to go into the second stitch under both loops. Push it through and pull the yarn through, not too tight. Take your needle and go back into the stitch that you just came out of. And you want to go down to the bottom of the stitch, which is about 3 loops down. pull it through, and keep your finger and thumb holding it there so everything stays pretty much the same. You want the tension to be good. And now you just want to pull it so it looks like the other stitches. You don't want to pull it tight and you don't want to leave it too loose. You want it to look like the other stitches, and it is right over top of this single crochet. So it's mimicking the stitch underneath it. This yarn, to secure it, we're going to come back up through the middle of the stitch we just created from the bottom of it. Pull it up gently. You don't want to pull it too tight. And then you want to go back down through the stitch that it came out of to begin with, which is the last stitch of the round right there. Pull the yarn through, and that just kind of secures it in place. And then you can start to darn your end in, and you have completed your square. Let me show you now how to darn these ends in. So we take our first one in the center. So we put it on our darning needle, and I just go through underneath the loops. Oops, pretty secure there. For a little bit. And just pull it nice and snug. And you can just go in one direction. I know a lot of people say to reverse, and if you want to reverse, you can. Go over top of the last strand that you just did, because if you don't, then reversing just pulls it back out again. I tend to just keep going till the yarn is done, but you can also reverse and go back the other direction just for a little added security. And when I do that, I don't feel I need to put the whole piece of yarn in, and then I can just cut it. This next piece from the next round, we're all good at the front. If you recall, we did an invisible join, so I already looped it there, so it's good and secure right where it is. So all I have to do now is darn it in. So you just go under some of the pieces at the back. It won't show at the front, and you don't pull it too tightly. You just make sure it's secure and firm, but not so tight it's going to pucker your work. And I just go as far as I feel comfortable. I'm going to go a little further here. See how I'm just going under the loops at the back, but it doesn't show at the front. And you want to keep on doing a little at a time, and then pull it through and make sure it doesn't pull too tight. And when you're comfortable with that, then you can cut that as well. I like to darn in over half of the yarn that I have there. Like I said, I usually cut them about 4 inches, so I like to darn in approximately 3 inches of it. I don't always go in a different direction, but it does give you that added security. So we have 2 pieces left on the off-white. I'm going to do this one next, and I'm going to go under these loops right here. See how my needle goes under those, but also doesn't show at the front, hides them in the back. And I'm going to show you a little trick here. When I get this much left, but I do want to darn that in, some people use their hook or a smaller hook, and they go in and pull it through. I just kind of darn my needle itself without the yarn on it. I send it through, as many as I can get it through. And then I take this yarn here and I poke it onto the eye of the needle, and then I just continue to pull it through. And then when it falls off in there somewhere, it doesn't matter because I've darned in all the thread and I feel comfortable with that. We have one more here, the one that we finished on the edge. And again, I'm just going to put that underneath these all the way. It's a very similar spot. So this is one of the reasons why I like starting in a different place, because if you have too many ends in one area, you do start to see a little bulk going on and you don't have as many places to darn them in. So I am kind of darning over top of the one that was already just darned in there. That's not a bad thing because sometimes you work through the center and they secure each other. but you don't want it to be bulky either, so be careful with how many of them you do. And then I'm going to go a little bit further here with this one, getting as many loops on as I can, and then just pull it through. And in this case, I'm going to clip the rest of this. So now I have everything darned in on the back, and this is the front. And that completes Dot the Square. These squares are perfect as a portable project. Make a bunch of them and then join them using the Join As You Go method that I've linked in the description below. I've made them in 2 colors, but you can mix up the rounds and create a ring design instead of a dot, or you can use 3 colors and create some very fun geometric designs with them when you join them together. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to my channel so you're sure to catch all my tutorials as they come out. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.